All right, so if somebody would have told me like 2 months ago that Magna was gonna 1v1 Dante, I would have screamed cap. Matter of fact, if somebody would have told me like last week, like literally last week, if somebody would have told me, oh yeah, next chapter, Magna is going to be fighting Dante, I would have screamed cap. Honestly, there is no way anybody said this. Like, there's no way anybody predicted this and was dead serious. No one's seen this chapter coming. And honestly, Magna 1v1ing Dante gives me so many mixed feelings about the entire thing, but I'll get more into that for the actual chapter review. So in the beginning of the chapter, we get the whole confirmation. Twin Devil is gone. It fades away, similar to how Zagrid did whenever Asta killed him. So I'm pretty sure like they're not coming back. But Noct notes that the Devil in Union is not complete, which I mean, I kind of could have figured that since it only lasts 5 minutes. I don't think that shows that it's complete. So Asta will more than likely complete it throughout this arc, which will be pretty interesting to see if it changes form or if it's just more effective through him using it. And then from there, Noct says like, well done, idiot. And this reminds Asta of Yami, and even tells Noct that he reminds him a lot of Yami. And it's really funny because Noct, he wraps him up and he's like, who is like whom? And this moment made me laugh because obviously we know that Noct doesn't really like Yami all like that. But it's funny because I wonder, was he doing this because he doesn't like Yami all like that? Or was he doing this because Noct is actually older than Yami? I wonder, was that the reason? Either way, it was still a little funny moment. Then we do get to see the drawback from his W Union. Similar to when he first learned how to go Black Form, he experiences excruciating pain throughout his body. And unlike Black Form, or similar to it, he can't go back into Union for 30 minutes, as well as he can't use Black Mode. So it's very interesting there. So basically, there's going to be this huge period of time where Asta's kind of useless. I mean, Noct says that anti-magic still has its uses right now, which, I mean, it definitely does because it's anti-magic. But essentially they're just going to be chilling. Noct also notes that Morris is the one opening the gates of Faster, so he says that the first thing that they should do before another gate opens is defeat the Dark Triad. And then he goes on to saying that like right now the worst situation is, and then it flashes over to Dante, which I'm assuming that would be the worst scenario or worst like person that's around for them to deal with, especially just because like, I mean, Dante is clearly, just with how his magic works with both of his types of magic, is obviously way more of a threat than Bonica or Xenon. Then it does flash over to Jack still versus Dante, and this part is really interesting because like a lot of us in the community have assumed that Jack's magic could just continuously adapt and adapt and adapt, and then it would eventually overtake. But here we see with Dante, his body magic, obviously enhanced by his devil powers, has just outperformed Jack's ability to adapt. So it's almost like Jack can cut him, but it's just the body magic is just too much, so it doesn't matter. So that is kind of interesting to see that there is definitely a like hard limit on Jack's ability to adapt and to cut things. And it's also very like, I want to give Jack props on this one because when you really think about it, Jack has been holding out for a really long time. Like if you want to count Asta's first cooldown, because he had to fight the giant ancient demon in the Clover Kingdom, and then he went Black Mode again, so that's easily that's another 30 minutes there. And then we have 2 5-minute timers, so like, and then however long Jack was fighting Dante, it's possible that Jack has been fighting Dante for possibly upwards of an hour now and hasn't been like completely like beaten yet. So that's definitely props on Jack. That's big props for Jack, that he's done so much like already. And I mean, it makes sense that he hasn't been able to like quite finish him off yet because it is Dante after all. But right when Dante is about to finish off Jack, we do have Zora using his ash magic to conceal Jack, and then Magna comes in and hits hits Dante with one of his funny exploding fireballs. And and it's funny because even Dante notes that they have no business being there. Like Jack is like, what are you dweebs doing here? Like, it's like, why are they here? Like they're like peasants, they're really, really weak. And I really like this moment from Magna a lot because Dante is like, even if you two fought me together, you wouldn't even be a challenge. But Magna's like, no, hold on, make no mistake, I'm fighting you by myself. And it was just like, it was a hype moment for Magna because he showed a little bit of oomph. Of course, this makes Dante upset because he feels like they're mocking them and they can't even, stand up to him at all. And then we get like this flashback that Magna was actually there during the Yami and Asta fight, but he just didn't pop out because, I mean, obviously he wouldn't have been of any help. He was going to, but Zora stopped him, which Zora is, rational and level-headed, saying that, he would just get in the way, which is entirely true. He probably would have just gotten in the way. But yeah, so essentially Dante's arrogance does get the better of him again, allowing Magna to attack him as much as he wants, until he's satisfied. And basically gives Magna the perfect opening, or the only scenario where this attack would probably land, to land his new spell, which attaches a chain from Dante to himself. And basically what this chain does, as it said in the unofficials and the officials, is it takes both of their magic and then combines it and then splits it in half, essentially making it a even fight essentially. And now this ability like allows, this is a huge ability for Magna, just for a character that just literally does not have enough mana to compete with really broken characters that like are devil possessed or have spirits or have enough mana to use runes and mana method. Like he just can't compete normally. So this definitely evens the playing field a lot for Magna. Now one thing I will say is I don't think this ability is as broken as a lot of people may think it'll actually be, just because Magna still does have to win in an even 1v1 fight of someone of equal like mana level, which could still be difficult, which could still come down to tight matchups. It still would be a tough fight. It's like, imagine fighting someone who is the exact same strength as you. It would still be kind of difficult to do. So it definitely does depend on that one. The one thing I will say with Zora there and with Jack still there, obviously they could probably step in at any point. I mean, Magna said he's going to beat him 1v1, but realistically it would make more sense since he's so much weaker now, to have Jack or Zora step in and probably clean it up. This ability seems like at first glance it would be really good at team fights, unless it has some kind of drawback that allows it to not be used in team fights, which could potentially be a thing. I think that because obviously this ability seems too good to be true without any type of a limitation or anything, so there probably is some kind of drawback to where he may or may not be able to use it in team fights. At least that's kind of what I suspect, that maybe like outside damage could affect him also because they're connected. Who knows what it could actually be. I'm curious to know what you guys could think of some potential drawbacks of this ability could be, because I really don't think Tabata would just give him this for absolutely free. But with that being the chapter, honestly, for next week, or not next week because we're going to be on break, but obviously for the next chapters, I kind of feel like we're going to go on the whole Dark Triad merry-go-round again, or since we're at Dante, then we're going to go to Vanica, then we're going to go to Xenon, or maybe Xenon, then Vanica, and then back here, or Tabata could possibly finish up the Dark Triad and do that kind of thing. Who knows? But all in all, I give this chapter like, I give it like a 9. Honestly, this was a really good chapter in terms of like the story moved, little small flashback for Magna power up fight and all that. This chapter was really hype. Honestly, the only thing that makes me iffy is just Magna being the one to do it. That's the only thing. And I'm not like a Magna hater or anything, but it's just like, it's so out of nowhere. But like at the very least with Magna's power up, he did have 6 months to train. It's not the same as like with Yuno or Noelle, where like they had their 6 months and then just got exponentially stronger in 2 or 3 days than they did in 6 months. So Magna's one is a little bit more believable on that note as far as those two. But just the fact that it's Magna is just a lot for me to take in. But that being said, make sure you guys like the video as well as subscribe to the channel for more content. I really do appreciate all you guys. So with that, enjoy the rest of you guys' day, and I'll see you all in my next video.